Today's lesson is Study Suggests Sweet Spot for Hybrid Work. Hi everybody, my name is Roger.
And I'm Helen.
And today we're going to talk about working at home. And of course the question is, do people want to continue to work at home, or would they like to go back to the office full-time, or would they like a combination of both? Of course, as you know, lots of people were working at home because of the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yes, and if you would like a combination of both, working from home and working from the office, then you might be interested in hybrid work, because that's what hybrid work means. It means a combination of working from home and working from the office in this particular case.
Exactly. So we'll find out what this is all about. We're trying to find that sweet spot, not too much of something, not too little, but finding the exact proportion of these two things. We're trying to find the sweet spot. So let's find out what this is all about. Let's listen to the first part of our lesson right now.
Studies suggest sweet spot for hybrid work. COVID-19 has led to a fundamental change in how office work is done. Indeed, during the pandemic, many companies embraced working from home as a means of staying productive while allowing their employees to maintain social distance. Now, as workers begin to return to the office, many are questioning whether hybrid work is a viable alternative to working in the office full-time. And if so, how much time in the office is optimal?
Hello. 第一部分我们看到形容词 viable 表示切实可行的或是有望成功的。例如 We have to find a viable solution to our financial problem. 我们得找个可行办法解决我们的财务问题。或是 It was more economically viable for the company to move production to a different country. 把生产移到另一个国家，在节约方面对该公司更可行。再来我们看到形容词 optimal意思是最理想的、最优的或是最佳的。例如 The air conditioning was adjusted to the optimal temperature. 空调已经调整成最理想的温度。或是 I take my car to the auto garage regularly to ensure its optimal performance. 我定期把车子送去汽车厂保养，以确保它保持最佳性能。
So today's lesson is titled Study Suggests Sweet Spot for Hybrid Work. So just a note on the word hybrid here. Hybrid in this context refers to a combination of working from the office and working from the home. But hybrid could also mean a mixture of different things, different styles. For instance, we can say that a car is a hybrid car because it can run using either petrol or electricity. Now, some animals and plants are also hybrid because they are produced from two different types of animals or plants.
Exactly. Hybrid corn, for example. There's a hybrid bicycle, which is kind of half a road bike, half a mountain bike. And of course, if you're driving on the highways, you'll see lots of hybrid cars out there. For example, on my way to the studio this morning, I got stuck behind a hybrid Toyota Camry. And again, that is a car that uses both gasoline and electricity. And now we're talking about hybrid work, okay, which means basically a combination of working at home or working at the office. Now here in the first paragraph it says, COVID-19 has led to a fundamental change in how office work is done. If something's fundamental, it's basic, it's at the core, and indeed most people accepted the fact that if you had a job, you would go into the office all week for 8 hours a day, Monday to Friday. No one questioned that. There were some exceptions, of course. Some people work freelance and do work at home. and maybe some people were allowed to work at home or on the road or whatever, but for the most part, most people accepted the fact that you had to work full-time in the office if you had a full-time job.
Yes, but COVID-19 changed all that because COVID-19 has led to a fundamental change in how office work is done. So when something leads to something else, it begins a process that causes something else to happen. So I might say stress can lead to illness. Stress can lead to high blood pressure. In this case, COVID-19 has led to a fundamental change in how office work is done.
Or an increase in consumption of carbohydrates in the United States led to the obesity epidemic that we're in the middle of right now. So yes, indeed, COVID-19 has led to a fundamental change in how office work is done. As most of you know, indeed, during the pandemic, many companies embraced working from home as a means of staying productive while allowing their employees to maintain social distance. So, of course, we had these scares when confirmed cases kept going up and people decided, hey, I do not want to go into the office because I will be close to other people that might infect me or I might infect them. So, yeah, we need to maintain social distance, stay away from people as often as we can. And so companies realized that people did need to stay away from each other, so they decided that working at home would be a good means of staying productive. So here it says they embraced working from home as a means of staying productive. So if you embrace something, it does mean you give it a big hug, you hold it in your arms, but it also means you accept this and you actually like it. So lots of companies embraced this concept. They supported this concept. They said, yes, working from home is a good means of staying productive. And of course, at the same time, the employees can maintain social distance. So they can still get work done, the company can still make money and have business, even though lots of the employees are staying home and working at home.
Right, so these employees, by working from home, can stay productive. To be productive means to work hard and to achieve good results. So a lot of these workers, employees, were working from home and they were still able to remain productive. There are a lot of apps these days on smartphones that help you remain productive or become more productive. They might help you try to organize your time better, or they might help you take notes. All of these measures are to help you remain or become more productive.
Indeed, and I must say personally, because I work in the studio a lot, I was never able to work at home during the pandemic. I always had to come into the office, so I'm not the person to ask if working from home was a good idea. This is something you need to ask yourselves there. But again, companies embraced this concept. Working from home was a means of staying productive, and the employees could maintain social distance at the same time, preventing the spread of the virus. Now, as workers begin to return to the office, many are questioning whether hybrid work is a viable alternative to working in the office full-time. So now people are beginning to return to the office. We don't need to maintain social distance as much as we used to. At least I hope that's the case. Yes, indeed, more people are returning to the office, but they're questioning whether hybrid work is actually a viable alternative. If something's viable, that means it's very possible to be used in the future. Is it an acceptable alternative? Will it be successful in the future if we continue to work sometimes at home and sometimes at the office? Could this be an alternative to working full-time? In other words, can we come into the office half the time and stay home the other half of the time?
That's right. So we can also say that a restaurant offers many alternatives to dairy milk. If you're vegan and you don't drink milk, cow's milk, then you can ask for oat milk or soy milk as an alternative to dairy milk.
Exactly. Some people like to listen to alternative music, for example, music that you don't hear on the radio. or on certain websites, it's music that's a little different from the mainstream. And of course, hybrid working might be an alternative to working full-time. And if so, if it is a viable alternative, how much time in the office is optimal? Should it be exactly 50-50, or should it be maybe 3 days in the office, 2 days at home, or 3 days at home and 2 days in the office? Yeah, what is the perfect time ratio? What is optimal? Optimal means the best.
Right, so if you have a range of possibilities like 3 days working from home and 2 days working from the office, or 3 days working from the office and 2 days from home, the optimal solution would be the best solution within that range of possibilities.
Indeed, so that's something we can think about. Yeah, what's the best ratio there? Or is it just simply best to quit your job and get welfare checks, or indeed work full-time and just forget about this hybrid work schedule? Okay, that brings us to the end of the first part of our lesson for today. Let's move on now to the second part.
According to a Harvard Business School study, spending 1 or 2 days a week in the office produces the highest quality work of any hybrid work model. The researchers offer an explanation as to why this is the case. Being in the office for this amount of time each week helps workers feel less isolated, but also allows them the flexibility they need for a better work-life balance. The authors of the study described it as the sweet spot for hybrid work.
第二部分我们看到单字 explanation， 这个字是名词，指解释或是说明。举例来说 ，No one could give an explanation for how the fire started in the new house。没有人可以解释这新房子怎么起火的。也可以说 The teacher gave her students detailed explanations on solving the math problems。老师为他的学生详尽解说如何解开数学题。另外补充这个字的动词 explain， E-X-P-L-A-I-N explain， 意思是解释或是说明。像是 Can you explain to me how you came up with that answer？ 你可以向我解释你是怎么想到那个答案的吗？或者 Barbara had to explain her bad grade to her father when she got home from school。 Barbara 从学校回家后，必须跟父亲解释成绩不好的原因。最后我们看到名词 flexibility， 指弹性或是灵活度。举例来说 The flexibility of this material prevents it from snapping when pressure is applied。 这种材质的弹性避免它在承受压力时断裂。或是 Dancers must have a great deal of flexibility。 舞者必须有绝佳的灵活度。另外补充这个字的形容词 flexible。F-L-E-X-I-B-L-E flexible 表示有弹性的，可弯曲的。我们可以说 Lucas's schedule became more flexible when he began working from home。 Lucas 开始在家工作后，行程就比较有弹性了。或是 To protect the book from rain, Roger covered it with a piece of flexible plastic。 为了保护书本不淋到雨， Roger 用一片弹性塑胶盖住它。
So now we're going to listen to some experts' ideas about hybrid work. According to a Harvard Business School study, spending 1 or 2 days a week in the office produces the highest quality work of any hybrid work model. So according to this study, which was carried out by the Harvard Business School, which is definitely a very respectable school, workers can achieve their best results by working from the office 1 or 2 days a week. So that's really surprising to me because I would have thought that workers would need to spend more days, maybe 3 or 4 days, to get optimal results.
So basically, you should go into the office at least 1 or 2 days in a week and spend the rest of the time working at home, at least according to this Harvard Business School study. Now, the researchers offer an explanation as to why this is the case. case. Now, if somebody is doing some research, the people involved are the researchers. Okay, they are people who are trained to do this. They have an educational background that qualifies them to do this research. And these researchers who were involved in this Harvard Business School study, they offer an explanation as to why this is the case. So they concluded that 1 or 2 days in the office is ideal, it's optimal, but they have to offer an explanation for that. Yeah, why is that the case? Why should you go into the office 1 or 2 days a week? What is your explanation? Explanation means you just give the reasons for something. For example, if you're late for work, your manager may ask you for an explanation. Yeah, what's your explanation? Why were you late for work today? Oh, my car broke down. An old friend came in from out of town. The typhoon was passing through and the bridge was out. Those might be your explanations.
Right. So what did the Harvard Business School researchers say as an explanation for their assessment that 1 or 2 days a week in the office produces the highest quality work? Well, they said being in the office for this amount of time each week helps workers feel less isolated, but also allows them the flexibility they need for a better work-life balance. So that makes a lot of sense, because if a worker is able to go into the office once or twice a week, then this will prevent them from feeling isolated. When you feel isolated, you feel alone, and you might feel unhappy as a result of feeling alone. So one good thing indeed about working at an office is that you're surrounded by coworkers, so you never feel isolated. You always have a chance to have lunch with them, to have a brief chat with them in between projects, getting a coffee. So that's what working from an office is good for. However, that should be limited to just 1 or 2 days a week.
Exactly. So yes, it might feel good to be around your coworkers 1 or 2 days a week. But if you had to hang out with them 5 days a week for 8 hours every day, you might get sick of them. So, of course, you want some kind of balance between the two. And yes, indeed, this hybrid work schedule allows you some flexibility and you'll get a better work-life balance. Okay, so you'll be able to work and enjoy your life at the same time. Let's face it, working at home is a lot easier. You don't have to shower to go to work. You don't have to get stuck in traffic, and you don't have to do all the other things that are required, looking for parking spaces and stuff like that. You're home, you're all set to go. Just turn on your computer and you're good to go.
Right. So work-life balance here refers specifically to the relationship between how much time and effort you put into your work and how much time and effort you put into other aspects of your life, such as your family. So a lot of people, a lot of workers, especially women, complain about work-life balance when they have to work at the office full-time because it leaves them very little time to do other things like go grocery shopping, prepare real meals instead of buying convenience store, microwavable meals, spending time with parents, with their own children. And the lack of time in doing these things can lead to their feeling unhappy.
Exactly, and that not only applies to women, but to men as well. They've got other things going on in their lives as well, like spending time with kids and preparing meals and things like that. So the authors of the study described it as the sweet spot for hybrid work. So again, we're talking about that sweet spot. What is the ideal balance between working at the office and working at home? Indeed, that is according to their study here. 1 or 2 days at the office and the rest of the time working at home. So let's move on now to the third and final paragraph, and we'll reach some conclusions about this particular research.
Not everyone agrees with the Harvard Business School researchers. Most managers, for example, believe working in the office full-time produces the best results. Hopefully, these managers will pay attention to the research when creating their return-to-work plans.
So we looked at the Harvard Business School study. However, not everyone agrees with the Harvard Business School researchers. Most managers, for example, believe working in the office full-time produces the best results.
Right, that's what the office managers believe, and the bosses, they'd like to have you in there all the time. Hopefully, these managers will pay attention to the research when creating their return-to-work plans. So hopefully these managers will not continue to feel that everybody needs to return to the office for 40 hours a week. They need to pay attention to the research. They need to focus on it. Just like students need to pay attention to their teachers in class so that they can remember the information better and do better on exams later on.
That's right. So managers need to pay attention to the research when they are creating their return-to-work plans because soon employees will be returning to work and they will need to make new plans for this return to the office.
Okay, we're going to turn things over now to Hanny, our beloved Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny， 我们来看今天的文法重点。首先看到课文标题 Study suggests sweet spot for hybrid work。 那么 sweet spot 原本是指向球杆、球拍或球棒上最有效的击球点，就像我们在打高尔夫球啊、打网球或是打棒球的时候，大家都会希望这个球是打在最佳击球位置，那个位置啊就是 sweet spot， 而这个用语呢就是用来比喻是最有效的点、最有效的位置或者是最佳时间点。那在我们课文当中，它则是用来表达平衡工作与生活的那个甜蜜点。好，那我们也来学习几个跟 spot 相关的用语。第一个是 soft spot， 它是指说对某人或某事物的强烈喜爱，常常会用单数 have a soft spot for somebody or something， 这就像是你心里有一部分是软的，对这个人或是事物呢就会特别的心软，那可以用来表达对某人或某事物情有独钟，无法招架，或者是你无法解释的就是特别喜爱这个人或是事物。举例来说 She has a soft spot for donuts， 她对甜甜圈无法招架，她非常喜爱甜甜圈。第二个补充的是 blind spot，是盲点，它可以指视线的死角，像我们在开车的时候可能就会有盲点嘛，你会看不到某些地方。那 blind spot 也可以用来描述心理上的盲点，就是描述说某人他可能看不到自己的缺点啊，或者是可能察觉不到某件事或是某个问题。举例来说Most parents have a blind spot when it comes to their children。 说到孩子啊，大部分的爸妈都会有盲点。那第三个补充的用语是 hit the spot， 这个动词 hit 它就有击打的意思，那么 spot 是点，刚好打在某个点上，那就表示它是恰到好处，正中下怀，正中要点的那种意思。那这个用语常常用来形容美食是令人心满意足的，这个美食是正合某人胃口，可以带来大大满足的。举例来说 On a hot day like this，An ice cream would really hit the spot。 像这样的大热天，来一支冰淇淋绝对令人心满意足。那课文第二部分的第二句，他提到说 The researchers offer an explanation as to why this is the case。 研究人员对情况为何这样提出了一个解释。那这边的 the case 意思就是What actually exists or happens， 在现实中存在的情形或者是发生的情况。那我们这边就补充几个常用的句子或是相关的用语，像是 whatever the case 就可以表达不管怎么样。This is especially the case with 点点点，就是表达什么什么尤其如此，尤其是这样。That's not the case 就可以表达并非如此，并不是那么一回事。那我们来造个例句Some dogs can have behavioral problems, but that's not the case with our dog. 有些狗狗啊可能会有行为问题，但我们的狗狗并非如此，并不是那么一回事。好，那以上是今天重点整理，我们来回顾今天的单字吧。
Fundamental. There are 3 fundamental problems with the plan that you proposed. Embrace. Taiwan has embraced high-speed rail as a means of transportation. Productive. Sally had a productive morning, but she didn't get much work done in the afternoon. Alternative. For many people, a scooter is a cheaper alternative to a car. Researcher. Paula got a university job as a researcher after she graduated. Explanation. There are several possible explanations for her absence. Isolated. As people get older, they tend to feel more isolated.
Discussion starter starts now!
Here's our discussion starter for today. The question is, if you were an office worker, would you prefer to work from home, work in the office, or work using a hybrid model, and why?
I think if I were an employee, I would prefer to work using a hybrid model because it really provides the best of both worlds. You can socialize with your coworkers and you can also have time alone to be able to concentrate on the work you have to do.
Well, for me, I feel like I'm more efficient at the office, so I definitely prefer to work full-time in the office because at home there are just too many distractions. I can play on the internet, play with a dog, go for a walk and stuff like that. I just don't get much work done when I'm working at home.
Well, everyone, today's article has come to an end, and I sure hope you enjoyed reading along with us. I am Roger.
I'm Helen.
See you next time.